In the late 18th century, 13 colonies on the eastern coast of North America stood at a crossroads. For years, they had been under British rule, paying heavy taxes without representation. But when the voices of resistance grew louder, revolution was inevitable. What followed was a war that would change the course of history. Patriots and redcoats clashed on battlefields from Lexington to Yorktown as ordinary men and women took extraordinary steps to secure liberty. Chapter 1: The American Revolution. We all know the story. Colonists, fed up with King George, fight for their freedom and create the United States of America. But the American Revolution was so much more than just a fight for independence. It was a complex and often messy struggle over power, ideals, and a changing world. A revolution that continues to shape us today. Now we'll explore the key events, the driving forces, and the lasting impact of the American Revolution. Chapter 2: Setting the Stage, Grievances and Growing Tensions. To understand the revolution, we need to rewind to the mid-18th century. Great Britain had just won the French and Indian War, or 7 Years' War, but at a huge cost. To recoup those expenses, the British government started imposing new taxes and regulations on the American colonies. These taxes, like the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts, hit the colonists hard. They argued that they were being taxed without representation in the British Parliament, a direct violation of their rights as Englishmen. The cry of "no taxation without representation" became a rallying cry. Tensions escalated. Events like the Boston Massacre, where British soldiers fired on a crowd of colonists, further inflamed public opinion. Resistance groups like the Sons of Liberty organized boycotts and protests, pushing the colonies closer to the brink. Chapter 3: The Spark. The breaking point came in April 1775. British troops marched to Lexington and Concord to seize colonial arms and ammunition. What started as a mission to disarm the colonists turned into a bloody confrontation. The shot heard round the world marked the beginning of the armed rebellion. Despite the escalating conflict, many colonists still hoped for reconciliation with Britain. However, King George III's unwavering stance and the growing radical sentiment pushed the Second Continental Congress to take a momentous step. On July 4, 1776, they declared independence. Written primarily by Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration laid out the colonists' grievances and proclaimed their right to self-government, based on the principles of natural rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Chapter 4: The War. The war that followed was a long and arduous struggle. The Continental Army, led by General George Washington, faced a well-trained and well-equipped British army. The early years were particularly difficult for the Americans. They suffered numerous defeats and faced severe shortages of supplies and manpower. Washington's leadership and strategic brilliance were crucial in keeping the Continental Army together. A key turning point came in 1777 with the Battle of Saratoga. The American victory convinced France to formally ally with the United States, providing crucial military and financial support. French involvement tipped the balance of power in favor of the Americans. Chapter 5: Victory at Yorktown and the Treaty of Paris. The war dragged on for several more years, but the combined forces of the American and French armies gradually wore down the British. The decisive victory came in 1781 at the Siege of Yorktown, where a combined American and French force trapped a major British army under General Cornwallis. Cornwallis's surrender signaled the end of major fighting. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, formally recognizing the independence of the United States of America. Chapter 6: The New Nation. Winning independence was only the first step. The newly formed United States faced a host of challenges, including a weak central government under the Articles of Confederation. The Articles lacked the power to effectively regulate trade, collect taxes, or enforce laws. The country was on the verge of collapse. Recognizing the need for a stronger national government, delegates from the 13 states convened in Philadelphia in 1787 to revise the Articles. Instead, they drafted a completely new constitution. The Constitution created a federal system, dividing power between the national government and the states. It established a system of checks and balances between the three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial, to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful. Chapter 7: Impact and Legacy. The American Revolution had a profound and lasting impact, both at home and abroad. It inspired revolutionary movements around the world, from France to Latin America. The revolution also led to significant social and political changes within the United States. It challenged traditional hierarchies and promoted ideas of equality and liberty. However, it's important to remember that these ideals were not fully realized for everyone. Slavery continued to exist despite the rhetoric of freedom, and women and Native Americans remained largely excluded from the political process. The struggle for equality and justice continued long after the Revolution. The American Revolution was a pivotal moment in history, a struggle for independence that not only created a new nation, but also inspired generations to fight for freedom and equality. While the revolution wasn't perfect, its ideals continue to shape our understanding of democracy and the pursuit of a more just world. The echoes of the revolution still resonate within our world. It's a story worth remembering and worth understanding in all its complexity. After 8 long years of struggle, sacrifice, the American Revolution had reached its hard-won conclusion. The 13 colonies, achieving what many thought impossible: independence from the mighty British Empire.